This episode of the Answer is Yes Baja Sessions is brought to you by Baja Bound Insurance Services. Driving to Mexico? You can buy and print out your Mexican auto insurance policy online in minutes with their easy-to-use website. They also have great travel information to help you plan your trip south of the border. Visit bajabound.com.
Hello, this is Ryan Thomas, and you're listening to the Baja Sessions. Over the last 3 decades, I've lived, worked, and played from the top to the tip of the majestic peninsula of Baja, California. And because of this, I've met some incredibly interesting people with equally interesting stories. And today on the Baja Sessions, we're going to chat with one of them. Scott Conley, super stoked to have you on the Baja Sessions today. How you doing today, buddy?
So good, Ryan. Thank you for having me on. Super stoked.
I love the fact that I have a reason to talk to my friends about a topic that is one of the best topics to talk about, Baja. So I get an excuse to call my buddies up and talk about cool stuff related to the Baja Peninsula. It doesn't get any better than that.
Well, it really does, Ryan. And I mean, the great thing about Baja, right, is there's so much to talk about, right? Whether it's just traveling down with friends and family, looking at the history, or enjoying all that the Baja has to offer.
Yeah, so it does get better than talking about it, because what gets better is actually going there and being there and experiencing it. So I was wrong there to say it doesn't get better. The best part is being there. So you
absolutely right.
And I don't mean to say I just call up my friends and we talk about Baja. There's a reason to have you on the show. You have, and I've said this to you before, in my opinion, you've carved out an incredible way to live your life and support your family by straddling the border. You live in the United States, but you've got an amazing relationship with your employer who has business interests on both sides of the border, and you get to kind of dabble on both sides of the border. Is that's a fair way to describe what your job is until we get into the details?
I think it is fair, and it's something that I feel very fortunate to be able to get to experience, right? And you mentioned it, having the freedom from my employer, Steve Games, right, who has interest, on both sides of the border, has allowed me just to live a lifestyle that is very, amazing, and be able to enjoy everything that both San Diego, Southern California, and Baja has to offer.
And I by no means do I mean to imply, and I know you don't either, that you're not actually working. I know there's big projects that you're involved with, and I know firsthand that it's not always coconuts and rainbows and happy things in Baja. There's work to be done, and it's not always easy. So I'm curious, though, man. So we met. It seems like I keep saying this, and it's kind of a testament to my age and so on, but it's close to 15 years ago at least. You were and still, to my understanding, responsible for a property south of La Paz, north of Cabo, called Bahia de los Sueños. And I know it's kind of what it's been called has changed around a little bit. Is that still the best way to describe that area, Bahia de los Sueños?
Has it really been 15 years?
You're still back there, huh?
Time has flown. But
yeah,
yes, Ryan, it is. The whole area, Bahia de los Sueños, it just south of La Paz, and our property specifically is called Gran Su. So it's within the development of Bahia de los Sueños, which it really sits about 2 hours north of Los Cabos on the Sea of Cortez.
Okay, so before we get too far into that, let's back it up a bit and talk just a little bit about how you got to this point. Because to me, it's I'm envious, number one, and I've never had this conversation with you. I mean, I just stumbled into you down in this area, and all of a sudden we became friends. And I know you've got a brother who, he's not in Baja, but he's in Mexico full-time, professional or ex-professional surfer. So let's hear just a little bit from the beginning about how in the world you ended up with this amazing opportunity.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, looking back, we've always been traveling to Baja through the years, just enjoying, surfing and fishing, I think, is really what brought us there originally. Just being from San Diego, it was always about, crossing the border, getting down into northern Baja, surfing the weekend, that kind of stuff, and just really just fell in love with it, right? Not only of the place, but the people and just all the adventure that was there. And that really led me through a number of different areas, but I started working for my current employer and really one of my best friends, Steve Games, on his yacht, sport fishing throughout Mexico. So I was his deckhand. I was, early 20s and just having fun, and took a job on his boat, and we traveled all over Mexico, Baja and mainland, fishing, surfing, diving, and just really enjoying everything that we could on the water. So it really all just started there. And as the years went on...
But hold on, back up. You just stumbled into the job of being a deckhand. You made it sound like that was easy.
Yeah, right.
Because I'm curious about... let's put it this way. I got a almost 6-year-old son, and I know you got boys too.
Okay.
And
yeah.
I'm certainly not going to tell my kid what to do, but I'd love to be able to give him pointers on how to stumble into opportunities like you stumbled into.
Well, I think, it has to do with a passion, I think, that we all have in common. And right, even if it's the kid, I know, your son and my sons as well, they love the outdoors and love the fishing and the water. So I had an opportunity where actually through a family friend, got introduced to Steve, and he gave me the opportunity. It was just at a time in his life where he was getting ready to take off and do this venture, really. And I was at a time where I was done with school and I wasn't really ready to get serious, right? I wasn't ready to grow up, and I'm still not really ready to grow up.
Has anything changed?
Nothing's really changed all throughout. And so we set off, and that was mid-90s, right? And we were just setting off down in the Baja, and at that point we were entertaining clients of his and managers from his company and so forth, and had just a great time to meet lots of different people, over those trips on the boat. And so it was fun to just get everybody's perspective on it and just open up their eyes a little bit into what Mexico offers. Right, whether it's the Baja or mainland, some people have a perception of Mexico, and if I could do my job just to kind of change that a little bit and open people's eyes, I think we were successful in doing that.
So a couple things to note, and then also a question for you, or like to have you clarify. First one is Steve Games at the time was the owner of the Prudential franchise in California. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah, he's a Southern California real estate guru, I call him, and he's been at residential real estate now for a good 40 years in Southern California. And at that time, he owned and operated Prudential California Realty, which is the largest privately owned residential real estate company in California. And my family's history as well, being involved in real estate, brought a big connection to that, and eventually led into some of the business side of the ventures in Mexico, which then allowed me to kind of live life on both sides of the border,
sure,
right?
Sure.
Which is kind of the dream that we all want to do, and how do we figure that out? And having that opportunity in the residential real estate world allowed us to be on both the California and the Baja California Sur side of the border.
So, again, just not wanting to beat a dead horse about the employer, but Steve eventually sold Prudential, and now he is with yeah. Go ahead.
Correct. Yeah. Back in I guess it was 2002, sold Prudential California Realty, and at that time, really decided that he wanted to get established in Baja California Sur, which is at that time when he went and bought the property, which is now commonly known as Bahia de los Sueños. Right, it was 4,000 acres, 6 miles of ocean front. For those of you in San Diego, Southern California, it was really the size of La Jolla, right, from Scripps Pier to Bird Rock. So a massive piece of land. It was amazing, and we're still involved with it today. And then fast forwarding to about 2012, Steve had the opportunity to acquire and partner up with Pacific Sotheby's International Realty, and his partner Brian Arrington and Ida Jones Church, all from San Diego here. So what that's even opened up even more doors on both sides of the border because of the residential real estate side, and having the international part of it. We get stopped every day with people that, have questions about Baja, want to own in Baja. How do you do it? I thought you couldn't own land there.
Sure,
all of those things, obviously, Ryan, which you know very well in your home and all your time that you spent in Los Cabos as well.
So, and we've definitely, in prior episodes, I've had Janet Jensen on here and a few others. We've talked about that process. So that's not necessarily a direction I'd like to go. I'd like to go back to something you said that I don't even know if you are recognizing it. And that's the opportunity to, I guess it is entertain, but it is entertain or spend time with people that are outside of your immediate sphere of friendship, relationship. And I guess what I'm getting at is that I, like you, have had the wonderful opportunity of spending time in Baja with some pretty heavy hitters in the business world. And it's amazing how a geographical place can be a common denominator and break down barriers for you. I mean, I have friendships with people that if it wasn't for Baja, I would never have otherwise. Did you experience that? Do you still experience that? Am I preaching to the choir here with you?
I think you I think you nailed it, Ryan. And it's that common denominator of Baja, right? The things that I've been able to experience have been unbelievable, right? That to someone growing up in California, Southern California, that I don't even know that I thought of the possibilities that existed, right? And then being down in Baja, being able to meet the people that we have, the opportunities, they're just Baja brothers, right? There's something about the land, the energy, the place, the local people that brings people together, and it's pretty phenomenal.
Okay, so we're in full agreement with each other there, and I think probably lots of people that listen would chime into that as well. But so take us back. We're on the boat. You guys are you're still a kid, and the next thing you know, whatever, your boss is buying this big swath of land, which at the time is kind of in the middle of nowhere. How are you involved, and what are you doing at that point?
Yeah, I was, at that point, I was really still heavily involved in the boats. Wasn't really sure, where he was headed with the development side of it. And then a number of things happened, and decided, okay, because as you mentioned, we were kind of in the middle of nowhere at that point, right? The nearest gas station was an hour away. We were still on dirt roads just to get to the property, right? Similar to how a lot of Baja dreams get started. And we decided to go ahead and start developing the property, master planned it, took it all the way through the municipality of La Paz, and took the property to market from a residential sales standpoint in 2004. Brought in golf course designers, land planners. Steve then put in the
how old are you at this point?
There at Las Arenas. At that point, I was probably 28, 29 years old, right? And kind of making that transition off the boat, coming off as the deckhand engineer, and really going to maybe start to grow up, but not really wanting to, enjoying what we're doing. And I think that's almost still what we're doing today, right? It's just being a kid. And I still get that feeling every time I cross the border, whether it's going on the airplane or driving down with the family. Baja still gives me that feeling of being a kid. Yeah. And I think that's one of the things that keeps bringing me back, right? And so, we decided to, started to develop the property and had some pretty good success. Obviously, with the world economy in the late, 2008, 2009 time, we had to pull back the reins and, took the properties off the market. And at that point, Steve had built a pretty large family compound, which is commonly known as Gran Su.